Before diving into today's video, we have a very important announcement to make. As you know, we've been partnered with Gsupps for over a year now, and I'm excited to reveal our very own waifu cup featuring Mara. Huh? You like it, fellas? Put a lot of work into this, I'm just saying. Now, before you jump up and say, Cross, what the hell, man? Listen, here's the thing. I've just been asking for one thing and one thing only during this 6-month-long season, for Mara to get into this dang hot tub. And she never did. Not even once. Now though, with this Gsupps cup, you can have her get in the hot tub anytime you want. And you can try some of our favorite beverages alongside it. Things like Emotional Damage, Blowhole Blast. All of them taste phenomenal and will taste even better in this cup. We're also launching a Mousepad and a t-shirt, so you can enjoy Mara even while the helmet is on. All of these items are only available for a limited time, and I mean very limited. You can pre-order now over on Gsupps website using our link in the description below, and using code Aztecross will get you 10% off your entire purchase. If this waifu cup does well, fellas, we're gonna get our own custom flavor. Huge thanks to Gsupps for making this drop happen. Guys, these exotic class items are ruining me. All the builds that I've previously interacted with have nothing on what these builds bring to the table. Now, Prismatic on its own has already been a game changer, and we've combined them with a number of different exotics. But it's these class items that are truly gonna take our Prismatic builds to that next level. Now, if you have not gotten your own class item, we have a guide going over all of this. We also do carries over on our stream. Literally come by. It costs 69,420 eggplants, which is our in-chat currency, and we do a single run, which takes all of like 35 minutes. Today, though, we're gonna be looking at this Warlock exotic class item, Solipsism, and this nasty combination. First up, big shout out to Jalal, a member over on our Discord, who has this role and allowed me to get on and give it a go. This was a combination that I had to try. And for my Warlocks out there, hopefully RNG will bless you with this exact role. This one comes with the Spirit of Apotheosis with the Spirit of the Star Eater. Now later in the video, we're going to be damage testing this with a number of different supers. The reason why I reached out to Jalal for this particular exotic class item is that we wanted to fulfill the fantasy of popping our Song of Flame super, which is ability spam incarnate, and then continue that spam well after our super ends. You see, Spirit of Apotheosis comes from Apotheosis Veil, and Spirit of Star Eater comes from the exotic on Hunter's Star Eater scale. This is a combination of Warlock and Hunter exotics that surprisingly have good synergy. First, let's take a look at the perk descriptions. Spirit of Apotheosis reads, temporarily gain increased melee and grenade regeneration after your super ends. Then Spirit of Star Eater reads, while your super energy is full, picking up an overpower overcharges your super, granting it bonus damage. Now, as with all the exotic class item perks, these are not one-to-one rips. Each perk is adjusted slightly to work with Prismatic and normally has a lesser effect compared to its original exotic. Now, looking at Spirit of Apotheosis compared to base Apotheosis Veil, it already worked with any of the supers available on Prismatic. But what has been changed is that we no longer receive immediate regeneration of health, melee, grenade, and rift energy for us or nearby allies when we activate our super. But we of course still get the 10 seconds of ability spam after ending our super, which is why we wanted this perk on Solipsism and why we wanted to pair it with Spirit of the Star Eater. You see, this perk has a few differences. You lose the additional super energy from Orbs of Power that you pick up, as well as the overshield you get at maximum overcharge. But like Apotheosis, we wanted this perk for increasing our damage output whenever we cast our super. Now this stacks up to ×6, with each stack giving you an increase to your super damage. At ×1, it's an 18.2% increase. ×2, it's a 36.4% increase, and at ×3, it's 54.6%, ×4 is 59.7%, and at ×5, it's 64.8%. Finally, at ×6, it caps out at 70% increase to super damage. And the main fantasy with this combination is the inclusion of the new Solar Super Song of Flame. While Song of Flame is active, your melee is replaced with a supercharged Incinerator Snap that sends out additional projectiles, and your grenade is replaced with a Solar Wisp that will seek out targets and detonate in a scorching explosion. And these two abilities recharge extremely fast, guys, allowing you to chain grenades and melees back to back for the entire super duration. Now, I think some of you already see where we're going with this. These two perks are going to allow us to further increase the damage of one super cast with Spirit of the Star Eater, and then once our super ends, continue the ability spam with Spirit of Apotheosis, allowing us to dish out a huge amount of damage. But before we begin comparing supers, we should of course cover our bases and make sure that Song of Flame does benefit from Star Eaters. since it is kind of a unique case. Looking at the damage of our Wisp without the class item, we hit Greg here for 39,111 damage. Then if we get times 6 Feast of Light, that same grenade goes up to 66,488 damage. Now this all turns out like we expect. We've got that 70% increase in damage, but what's extremely interesting as we test how Spirit of the Star Eater works with Song of Flame is that ignitions will scale here. This is unusual. Ignitions normally have an issue with scaling. And I know it all comes down to the sourcing, but even our most recent review, the Hunter exotic class item, and it taking advantage of Caliban's and Lyra's Handshake, we had no scaling with the ignition damage there. Now there are a few ways to make your ignitions do more damage. This is one of them. You can see here Song of Flame without Solipsism ignites for 42,911 damage. Then if we look at the ignitions with Feast of Light, this jumps up to 72,948. And this follows suit at 70% more damage. So we now know that Song of Flame interacts normally with Star Eaters. The question now is to find out if Song of Flame is truly the best super to pair with this exotic class combo, and if it can even beat out regular Song of Flame on Solar with the Apotheosis Veil. Now you might be asking, why even make that comparison? Well, it's because Prismatic Warlock doesn't have the highest damage grenades. And as we all know, fusion grenades on Solar Warlocks absolutely pump damage. So starting there, with Solar Warlocks, Song of Flame, and Apotheosis Veil over the full 23 seconds of ability spam. Ending with Incinerator Snap and Fusion Grenades, we deal 1,344,185 total damage. Now since Bungie has added surges to dungeons, we did take that out, which actually brings our damage to 1,075,348. Guys, even without the surge, we're doing well over 1 million damage from simply spamming abilities, which is pretty crazy and pretty hard to beat. For testing purposes though, we're going to have our next test be Apotheosis only, so that we can see how much damage Fusion Grenades are helping here. Now, pitting this directly against Prismatic Warlock on Song of Flame with Incinerator Snap and Storm Grenades, our damage came out to 936,093 damage. Now, I should also mention, you can use either Storm Grenades or Vortex Grenades on Prismatic while making use of the Facet of Bravery for Jolt and Weaken respectively. Unfortunately, Jalon didn't have this fragment unlocked, but these would increase our Apotheosis spam quite a bit. And then to finally reveal the big test that I was most anticipating, we have our Spirit of Apotheosis plus Spirit of Star Eater on Song of Flame with Incinerator Snap and Storm Grenades for the post super spam. This came out to a massive 1,302,748 damage. That is a direct 40% increase in damage compared to the same combination without Star Eater. Now this is of course not a flat 70% because Star Eater only boosts our super. But then finishing out our test, we took this combination and replaced the super with Needle Storm, which gave us a total of 761,826 damage. And then our final test was with Cataclysm Nova Bomb that dealt 877,771 damage. Now, as we show all these numbers on the screen, there's a couple things I want to note. One is that while my fantasy of just pressing buttons for 23 seconds and dealing massive damage is best fulfilled by Song of Flame, pairing it with supers like Needle Storm or even Nova Bomb are extremely viable options for DPS scenarios, since those are one and done, and you can get back to using your weapons. So yes, Song of Flame is far and away at the top spot in terms of total damage, but don't write off your other supers. It should all depend on your current setting. Now, the last thing I wanted to leave you guys is how you can truly maximize this exotic combination if you get your hands on it. The first thing is, of course, to make sure that you're running the proper aspects and fragments. If I'm trying to up my lethality, I would use Hellion, which gives us extra Scorch and more ignitions, even when we're in our super. And then outside of that, I would 100% recommend running Feed the Void, because since this combination setup is so focused on our super, we lose out a bit on our neutral gameplay. Now to make up for this, Devour adds both neutral ability spam and survivability. And then for our fragments, I would recommend using Facet of Bravery so you can weaken or jolt depending on your grenade, like I mentioned earlier. And if you got Vortex Grenade, you could toss one before popping Song of Flame, have that debuff on your target as you cook, and then reapply it once your super ends, and then continue to spam. Now you can also pair Expanding Abyss with that weakened fragment and use it alongside Nova Bomb. Now this would give that combination around 10% more damage than what we saw in our testing. And then there's Shield Crush, which reads, while you have Woven Melt, Frost Armor, or Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. While you're Amplified or Radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. This increases our super's grenade by 25%, going from 33,003 to 41,254. Unfortunately, we didn't get to test this on J-Law's account, but that should make our Song of Flame super have even higher DPS and climb even further above the rest. And the last thing I wanted to check was how this combination interacts with Transcendence. And it doesn't really. You can't get increased damage from the Transference artifact mod, which increases melee and grenade damage while Transcendent. And then if you use Transcendence with Apotheosis Veils perk active, the melee recharges quickly. But the Transcendence grenade doesn't take that souped up regeneration rate. Guys, regardless of the activity, Solipsism here with this role puts out some insane damage. I'm sure there's even ability combos that I didn't get to test, which I'm sure we'll see rise in popularity. But I know for a fact that this specific combination will become cemented as a go-to for my Warlocks, especially for anyone looking to top DPS. Good luck to everybody on the grind. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.